place, Cedric McMillan.
Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. I'm here with Tad, the diet coach, and Chris, the technician, Aceto. And we are here at the 2015 Arnold Classic Finals, and we are going to do the final wrap-up here. Chris, Dexter Jackson setting history with a 5-time championship here. This is his 5th championship. He defeats the record previously held by Flex Wheeler. Actually, he was tied with the record with Flex Wheeler. He wins $130,000 for his effort. We said after the prejudging wrap-up that Dexter would either be 1st or 4th, and I guess the judges decided to go with 1st.
Yeah, Dexter looked, like a fuller version of Dexter, and actually I thought he looked better tonight. He did what he needed to do in this lineup to win. It goes back to the prejudge, and I didn't know where they had him. It was like a little odd that they were putting him on the end. But I bet if you look at the scorecards, my assumption is that he was probably in the lead from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, Ted, you said it best. Sometimes they like to play around a little with the places. It looked like Branch and Dexter were going to be 1st and 2nd. We said that after the prejudging wrap-up, the way the judges scored it, whether we agreed or not. What do you think made the judges go with Dexter? Because none of us said Dexter for the win.
Yeah. My initial predictions before we saw prejudging about a couple days ago was that Dexter would win, but just based on historicity and what I see as physique. But today, I think they just won over aesthetics and his consistent conditioning and just all the qualities that we usually expect to see in a champion bodybuilder. He had there on stage.
I think they almost judged Dexter like they did at the Olympia the year he won. It was like maybe no one else was good enough for them to say, we're going to give it to them. I mean, arguably Justin Compton was the most gifted person in the lineup in terms of size, conditioning. His abs were a little washed out, we noticed, at prejudging, and even maybe a little worse tonight. And obviously Branch Warren having all that oodles of muscle and conditioning, but just not put together that well. Cedric McMillan, arguably probably the most aesthetic bodybuilder on stage, but maybe not having enough in the conditioning department in the legs. Was Dexter the winner by default?
I wouldn't, no, I wouldn't say default because, he brings, I don't think it's fair. He brings a lot of strengths and attributes of his own. And, when Dexter is, as much as I'm, a Cedric fan, Dexter still looks very thick in some shots, even though he's small in stature. His side chest is still great. His back double's very good. His most muscular is good. Meaning on those shots, even though he's quote small in stature, he's still very dense and muscular.
I didn't mean when I say by default, I mean that he's got all the tools to win, but he doesn't have enough wow to win. But when the wow guys are off, Dexter's just always standing there to take that trophy.
Yeah.
He's done it numerous times.
Yeah, I think Dexter's wow factor is that, one, when you consider, and I hate to say this, because when you consider his age and consider his historicity in the sport, how successful he's been, he's successful because he comes in shape, he has a great structure and a great
consistency.
He's very consistent, and I think that's it's one of his strengths.
Very rarely have we ever seen Dexter off.
Right, exactly. And today he was definitely on, and he definitely looked good, and he makes a good champion.
I wonder what win number that was, because we were talking about whether with the record. Wins? Yeah, total wins. He's got to be over 20 now, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Let's talk about Branch Warren, because Branch looked visibly upset when they called him out in 2nd place, and I actually felt bad for him because I think he believed that he was going to win. You know when you see a guy up on stage and they're just goofing around with everyone, and they're like, yeah, I know I got this. And I felt like Branch felt that way, and when they called him 2nd, he was really like deflated energy-wise.
Yeah, I saw he and also Cedric looked like the wind got taken out of their sails a little bit, when they were announced. And that, I could, very understandably so. This is a big title, and for Branch, this is like, something that, everyone's counting him out, and then he comes back, and he really, really shows his better side, and
he probably was his best he could be.
Yeah, and I think he was rewarded for it. He didn't get the first place nod, but he got about as good as you can get for that.
Branch Warren, what do you think? Second place?
I didn't have him second place.
Where'd you have him?
Fourth.
Okay.
I don't think it's a grainy contest. It sounds ridiculous, but Jose Raymond is grainier than him. He has more separation than him. His front double biceps better than his. So is his back double bicep. What I'm saying is really that I have a difficulty when graininess is without separation is pushed ahead or rewarded at this level in second place.
I broke it down this way. I said, you know what? Branch has got tons of muscle, good conditioning, but his lower back's watery. Justin Compton, tons of muscle, good conditioning, great symmetry. Abs are a little soft. Cedric McMillan, the best symmetry, great muscle separation, maybe a little soft in the glute and hamstring area. That's where I get Dexter in my head. I come back to that. But, the judges did reward Branch's muscle mass more than they did aesthetics today, which we've seen in the past. Usually aesthetics gets the nod, and that's why I think we both thought Cedric would be in the first or second position.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very logical and understandable way to break it down. It's not my logic, but I understand the logic in it. But I would just shoot that logic down simply with, someone had asked me after the show, where did you have Branch? And I asked them, of course, I switched around, where did you? And they said first, and I said, no, I didn't have him first. They asked why. I said, he doesn't really have any arms on the back shots or the front shots. He doesn't have a memorable front double or back double bicep. For me, again, that's problematic. So I start thinking, Compton and Cedric rather than
we broke down the poses, all of us, and I think we decided that between Cedric and Compton, they win all the poses, all the mandatory poses, which is weird because they wound up in third and fourth place.
Well,
so
you can win poses and not be the best guy up there.
No, I'm saying it's a hard thing to accept and understand.
Yeah, no, I understand. And that's what made the show not necessarily difficult to judge, but just leaves it open-ended, outside of at least Dexter. At least I can leave, and say, well, Dexter, for all the reasons that we just discussed, I can see him in first.
Why do we always feel good when Dexter wins? Like, you might not agree with the decision, but you're like, oh, Dexter won, it's okay. We feel all's good in the world.
I'll tell you why, because we can't say he sucked on the back double. We can't say his side chest stunk.
He's good.
We can't say his abs and thighs, is really weak. Yeah. So there's, it's the burden is on you to say, okay, why?
Right.
So I can come up with something for Branch. I can't come up with anything really for Dexter. People say he's small, and that's why I said not really on the side chest and back double, most muscular.
Yeah. He's like the pass line bet in craps. Like it's a good bet. Just because he's safe. He's going to show up in great shape. He's got great lines. He's got great symmetry. He's put together well.
Right. Like if someone else would have won, we would have been like, what a terrible decision. But with Dexter, it's like, all right, he's five-time champion now. That's great.
Yeah, he's proven himself.
Yeah. How do you think Flex Wheeler feels about losing now to Dexter? Dexter taking that 5-time championship.
I don't know. He'll probably give him a call in a couple of minutes
and break his balls a little.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Arnold said it best. Arnold said it sucks when you lose the record. And he knew he lost it to Haney when Haney took the 8 titles in the Olympia, and Arnold, only had 7. So I imagine that
nothing lasts forever, right?
Dexter, Flex's one, record he had is gone now. Although he's won the Ironman, I think, more times than anyone else, right?
Yeah, 5, 6.
Not that the Ironman is a lot. Yeah, there's no more Ironman. Let's talk about Evan Centopani, 5th place. We pretty much predicted that. He's probably solid. I look at Evan up there, and it irks me because I see so much potential in this guy, and I just don't see him improving from show to show. Do you see improvements?
I don't see the improvements that from last year. No, I was expecting more, just roundness and at the end of the day, it wasn't there. So, but he's got the structure and he's got the size and everything else, and the oddness is here we are at the night show. It's only 4 hours later, and you could see that he's fuller at night.
Yeah.
And not that it made a difference, but you could see it.
Yeah, I was talking to Fakhri Mubarak, and he said that he felt that he was softer and watery, looking in certain areas like of his glutes and his lower back. That like he just doesn't. I don't know if they overcarved him or what.
Yeah, I do see some improvements from last year. I remember last year thinking everything that when he was on stage, I didn't have him quite as high as he had placed, not just barely off, mainly because I thought he had some fullness he needed in his quads. I thought he was a little bit harder last year than he was this year, but he still looked really great this year. And the improvements I really saw in his physique are really more along lines as for him. I think he's sort of growing in layers. Everything is kind of growing a little bit at a time, so he's not really bringing up the legs as much as they could, but he's bringing up everything sort of proportionally. So he still has so proportionally you're still seeing the weak stuff.
Is it possible that he just ate more and filled out more, and so that everything looks fuller? So yeah, everything looks better, but he still sees his weaknesses. And to me, that's the way he looked to me. He looked bigger everywhere, but softer in the areas that he didn't need to be softer.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I mean, but regardless, I mean, I think when I look at him on stage, I think, okay, is he bigger? Is he fuller? Is he harder? Is he leaner? And in many respects, he was. So I think he did make some marginal improvements. And if he keeps going at the rate that he's going, then maybe in like 4 or 5 years he'll have a championship.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Talk to me about Raleigh Winkler. What does he got to do to fix what's wrong? He obviously has monstrous amounts of muscle on his body. His conditioning was very good, but his waist has gotten really thick. I mean, what do you do if you're what's the advice you give to Raleigh Winkler?
His waist is getting as wide as the Suez Canal. That's what he was training over there in that area of the world.
Yeah.
So
what does he do? If you're
you know,
advising him, what do you tell him?
It
Like some of the bikini girls.
It looks like that he's forcing food. I don't know. Just
Eating too much, you think?
probably eating too much. I mean, you don't.
Ed Connors?
Yeah, it could
advice?
could be causing some plumbing problems in Kuwait. I don't know, but he's Raleigh has a body that Raleigh has to be spot on to be competitive. If not, forget it.
Yeah.
You can just tear him apart.
Well, you know what it was? He was in shape and he had a lot of muscle. He just his shape got like terrible.
Yeah, he's got a strange midsection, and he contracts his abs in a very strange way. It kind of makes him even look wider almost.
Sure.
And I think for him, the solution is keep doing the stuff you're doing in terms of building your physique, because that's what's putting you where you're at. But I don't think he's going to fix some of the structural issues that you can.
Maybe he should lose some weight.
Maybe he should lose a little, but.
I know for a bodybuilder to get smaller, they can't do it. I remember Bill Dobbins once told me, he goes, you should lose 30 pounds of muscle, you'll have better symmetry.
You're like, what?
I said, are you out of your mind?
Well, yeah, that's what you strive all year to make improvements, and I think most bodybuilders think improvements mean more weight, getting bigger.
Right.
And I think for Raleigh, maybe that is the key, and then just maybe not. I don't know. I think for him, I've never really truly. I think he's a good bodybuilder. Yeah. I just don't think that he can make. This is about as he might be able to marginally get better in terms of placing. I don't think he's a championships in his.
I think he's going to have a lot of trouble too. Let's talk about the bikini. Ashley Kaltwasser, Miss Olympia, repeats here. 2-time Arnold Classic champion in the bikini division. What was funny, Chris, was that when Arnold interviewed her, I guess Arnold had forgot she won the year before, which is, look, it's a long, I guess, night.
Weekend.
And I forget shit like that sometimes. It's embarrassing.
No.
But Ashley actually reminded him on stage, and I don't know how you can really do it in a nice way, but I guess she felt awkward, and Arnold didn't look too happy about it.
No, he joked. He made something. He made everyone laugh, right? No, testing you. He was testing her for
And she's like, I was just kidding, of course.
But the more interesting part, besides winning 2 times, is that she used to come hang out here when she was a teenager with dreams of.
Is that what she said?
Yeah. She used to come here to the expo. She's as a teenager with dreams of getting up there and being a winner.
Yeah, and she won an amateur title here too. Personally, I think Ashley's a beautiful girl. I thought at the Olympia she really brought it this year. I didn't think she brought it here. I would not have had her winning. Not that it matters, but I would have either had Justine Monroe winning or Janet Laing.
I had Justine Monroe. winning. I thought she's got these nice long legs. She's just got a superb physique.
I know she's from Canada, but I would swear she's from Brazil because she's got a great butt.
Yeah, she knows how to present her physique really nicely. I thought it was fairly clear. The judges had her in the middle most of the time, so I thought it was pretty clear. Not to say that Ashley was a bad choice per se, because she's a good choice, but to me it almost felt like, oh well, we have to give it to her because she won the Olympia.
Do you think the Olympia aspect of it, sway the judges a little bit? It has to, right?
It has to. I mean, it has to, because they're just like everyone else. You say, we do this. who's the favorite? We say Dexter. Why? Because he places high. He's the most.
Maybe that's why he won too.
Senior. I mean, the point being is, us coming into the show, we try to break it down, and at the end of the day, when you ask me who should be the favorite, I have to, by default, say Dexter because he is beating everyone at the Olympia who's not here. So with Ashley, it's, if she's coming into the show, most likely she's going to be highly anticipated to be at least right there. I mean, it has to count. I mean, it has to sway something, I would think.
I like Justine Monroe's butt from behind, but I like Janet Legg's complete look. Yeah, I felt like she's like a supermodel up there in my mind. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's long-limbed. She's got the long torso. She's got the nice ab insertions, small waist. To me, she's the future of bikini.
Yeah, I have to actually agree as well. It's hard because all of them are so beautiful, but she does have some exceptional qualities, and I think that as each year clicks by, we're starting to see these women they could just pop out of a supermodel magazine, so to speak, in there, and with great physiques, because some of these supermodels don't have great physiques.
When India Paulino has to settle for fourth place, a former international champion here, you know that the lineup is tough. I mean, and she was great. I mean, I think it might have been the best she's ever been.
I thought it was the best she's ever been.
Yeah. I thought I did too. I thought
of all people who thought she's got to, she had to leave here like scratching her mane. Thinking like, what do I got to do? Because, I'm top
best conditioning she's ever been.
And this is the best I've ever been, yeah.
Well, in bikini it seems, and it's just sort of natural, when you see them on stage, the shorter ladies oftentimes have a disadvantage. They just tend to be...
I agree.
Unless you like shorter ladies.
Unless you like shorter ladies. But
just, your eyes go to the tall, just like Cedric. Your eyes go to Cedric. You want to see Cedric win because he's just... your eyes are on them. And so then you have to find a reason why he shouldn't win.
When you start looking at people in pictures, when there's no perspective, then it becomes a different kind of race. And I think, but when you get them on stage like that, Justine, who's the tallest on stage, I think she was the tallest. Yeah, it's hard not to your eyes not, like you said, your eyes not to go right there.
Stephanie Maho finishes in that fifth spot. I think she's just moving up the chain too a lot, and I think that she's going to be a real polished and successful competitor in 2015. I think she's going to hit a couple more shows, and you're going to see a few wins under her belt.
Absolutely, 100%.
And finally, in the Strongman, the Pro Strongman finished up the last event on the stage. Zydrunas Savickas, last year's champion, was in the lead by 1.5 points going into the finals. Brian Shaw edges him out in that dumbbell press. It was a 274-pound dumbbell. He pressed it 6 times, beats Zydrunas, wins the title of World's Arnold Strongman. And you know what? Last year, if you guys remember, Clint, the MC, was miscounting, and Brian wound up losing because of that and lost $50,000 in the process.
Yeah,
Huh?
He should have.
Lonnie wants to sue him for
misappropriation of MC.
I think of lack of direction.
The funny thing is with this show, they're always adding these kinds of events to sort of string out the evening show, and it makes it for interesting.
I love it. I love it. I love the strongman Brian Shaw, who's 6'8", 440 pounds. When I interviewed him, I'm like a little peon.
I'm looking at him, but what struck me as you're interviewing, I'm watching, and he's really quite a massive
like a
guy.
Circus act.
Yeah, and his arms are like a pro bodybuilder. I mean, they're like some of the best. He's like that big.
I said to him, how come you're the only person who wasn't intimidated by Arnold's questioning? And you remember Jose was. The girls were. You know why he wasn't? Because he's looking down on Arnold. He's like talking to Arnold down there. How could you be intimidated when you're looking down on someone?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think a lot. When people watch this kind of stuff on the internet, so they don't realize this, like you said, this perspective issue, and it's so impressive. Kind of an underappreciated sport, to be sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank the Lormers and, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger for having us out again and giving us carte blanche. If you didn't catch it, make sure you catch the replay of the Hall of Fame ceremony that we live streamed today, where Triple H and Michael J. White and Linda Murray were inducted into the Hall of Fame along with Evander Holyfield. You have something there?
Yeah, and Jim Mannion got the Arnold Schwarzenegger Lifetime Achievement Award.
Right. Jim Mannion won the Lifetime Achievement Award. Well, he earned it. How about that?
He earned.
You know what the interesting thing about Jim Mannion is? He's so quiet normally, except when he's yelling at me. But normally to other people, he's very quiet. And then he gets up there, he gives this great speech.
And I know he doesn't like to do those speech kind of things, but he had his speech written out. That was pretty awesome.
And he did it himself because he's a perfectionist.
Right. Exactly.
So congratulations to Jim Mannion on that. And he did wish me a happy birthday. We have the same birthday, so February 17th. He turned, I think, 70. I turned 69. No, just kidding. But once again, thanks to the entire staff here, and this is a first-class operation. We love coming out here, and we can't wait to come back next year. I hear some rumors there might be an Arnold Classic in Mexico next year. You might see RX Muscle live streaming that event. So, guys, stay tuned for updates as they come in. For now, we are out of time. I'm Dave Palumbo with Chris the Technician Aceto and Tad the Diet Coach for RxMuscle.com.